Hi, all. Welcome to another episode of Bite Size Staffing, where I attempt to take huge dental staffing issues and condense them into bite sized webinars for you to watch during your lunch break or in between patients. This week's Bite is all about Gen Z, why and how to employ them. So, August of 2024, the Health Resource and Service Administration, they released data revealing that the dental professional shortage has increased again. And they estimate that almost 10,000 dental professionals are needed to fill these shortages. And we have Dental Post salary survey report that found that 34% of dental hygienists plan to retire within the next 6 years. So, how do we fill these shortages? With the younger generation that is entering the workforce. With these impending shortages, it's crucial for dental practices to understand what attracts and retains Gen Z employees that are entering the workforce. And this bite sized webinar plans to do that for you. So, let's dive in. So here's some facts that we need to understand about Gen Z. They span in age between 12 to 27, 12 to 28. More than any other generation, their first job is coming after they complete high school or college. So a lot of them are not working during their high school and college years. They are considered to be the most educated generation so far. They have the shortest attention span of any age group. We find that Gen Z loses active attention on ads in just 1.3 seconds. I'll get into why that is such critical knowledge for you to have. They grew up with technology and they have a need for instant gratification. A study found that Gen Z's top concerns include mental health, climate change, environmental and climate change, race and gender equality, and ethical labor practices. Again, I'll go into why that's important for you to know. Another report shows that 61% of Gen Z has been medically diagnosed with an anxiety condition. And Gen Z, they grew up during the financial crisis of 2008. Many watched their parents get laid off, and this has internalized them to feel that jobs do not have loyalty to their employees. So, because of this, they have the least amount of loyalty to their employers more than any other generation in the past. They also have more work opportunities available to them than all previous generations. They started working during this gig economy. So if they aren't happy with their job, they have so many opportunities available to them that gives them the ability to pay their jobs outside of having the usual 9 to 5. So they can simply quit and pick up a gig shift and be just fine. And they know they have that in their arsenal. So knowing these factors, and again, there's a lot of information out on Gen Z, but I picked the ones to share with you that have to do with how to attract and retain them. So knowing this information, we want to implement this into our recruiting efforts. We have to make it different than we have with other generations. And so this is how we're going to go about do that. But before we get into attracting them, let's focus on what Gen Z can actually bring to your practice because a lot of benefits come with employing Gen Z. So, besides them being the generation that's going to help address the shortage of dental professionals that we have, they offer so many contributions to your dental practice. And here are just a few of those. So, as I mentioned on the previous slide, they grew up in the digital age and they are extremely technologically advanced compared to other generations. So, you can assign them such tasks as updating the computers, handling machine issues, doing your social media posts. They're just great for any of that. So, hand that off to your Zoomer that's in your practice, and they're going to fly with it. Gen Z, they understand what people their own age want. And just like we see, and we're going to be relying on Gen Z to bring more workers into the dental field, they're also the generation that are now seeking new providers to care for their teeth and their overall health. So you want to engage your Gen Z employees to understand marketing efforts that are going to attract other Gen Z persons into your practice to get them to be your future patients. So involve your Gen Z employees in helping you market efficiently to their own generation to bring in as many new patients as possible. Gen Z, they feel the need to feel valued. So they often get the reputation of being lazy, but in reality, it's just that they understand that their role is replaceable. So if you do things that are going to keep them engaged and communicate how much their efforts contribute to the team and the practice, you'll find that they'll probably go above and beyond all the time for you. Additionally, their energy and physical health are huge assets to your practice, which you can utilize accordingly. They're honest, and that can sometimes be misinterpreted negatively. However, if you, as an employer, can develop thick skin and appreciate their feedback, you'll find that they're going to provide you valuable insight into how you can improve yourself as an employer, which is going to help you to retain staff in the long run. And my feelings on retention are, if you retain your staff, your practice is going to grow and thrive. So really great for all of that. And then they bring youthfulness and fun to your practice. We know that new blood in the practice always shakes things up, always shakes up the mundane. So just having some Gen Z in your practice is really going to have like a nice, fun, youthful effect on your practice, and your patients are going to enjoy that. So when it comes to attracting Gen Z, we do have to adjust our approach. And this is a great template for you to reference when we want to write an ad that is going to attract Gen Z. And this will just, in general, attract more dental professionals as a whole, in my opinion. But here's why it's so critical to attracting Gen Z talent. Remember when I was going over stats, we only have 1.3 seconds to grab their attention. And we find that this headline does just that by speaking to what they're looking for. So, it's a fun and friendly dental practice. They see the location, they see an excellent rate of pay, and then it has that call to action to keep them reading, which is check out our benefits. So they're able to read that in 1.3 seconds, and it's going to grab their attention, hold it, and compel them to continue to read through the rest of the template. And then we wrote up a description that speaks to what matters to Gen Z. So we talk about how our practice changes lives. We talk about how we have a positive work environment, and then how our team works for the actual environment outside of our practice. We touch on any community service relationships that we're doing, and we include that in all of there. Under benefits, we adjusted the benefits so that they speak to what we know Zoomers, Gen Z Zoomers, want. So we turned sick days into mental health days. Mental health is one of the top priorities for Zoomers. So we want to make sure that we spoke to that, and we do that with our benefits. So now they're thinking, oh, I don't have just sick days, I have mental health days. This guy gets it. I want to work for this person. So it does, just a little switch in verbiage does a huge impact on the psyche of the applicant to get them to want to work for you. And then all the other benefits are worded in a way that we know is going to attract Gen Z based on what their wants are. And then we also know that equality in the workplace is very important to a lot of Gen Z applicants. So we close out by saying we don't discriminate. And then that touches obviously on their emphasis on inclusion that they want. And so this does a very good job of speaking to Gen Z applicants and getting them to want to work for your practice. Once we get these applicants, then we want to make sure that they enter into our interview process. So we know that over 60% of Gen Z has medically diagnosed anxiety. So, what we want to do within the interview process itself is make sure that they know and understand every single step of our interview process. Every time we're concluding a conversation with them, we want to tell them exactly what the next step is going to entail and when that next step is going to be. Or if we're not scheduling that next step, why we're not scheduling it and when we will be in touch to schedule it. They absolutely need to know every step in the interview process. You cannot just say, oh, we'll be in touch and leave it at that. Their little anxiety is going to step in and say, oh, they're not interested in me. And then they'll start looking for another job and you might have missed out on them. So just, we're very interested in moving you to the next step. But I do need to get with my team to see when that time will work. I'm going to call you tomorrow afternoon to get that scheduled. Is that okay? Yes, now they know to wait until tomorrow afternoon to speak with you about the next step, but they know it's coming. You've prepared them for that, and their anxiety isn't going to go everywhere and make them think all these things. So definitely make sure you do that. I did talk about this in my no-show bite, so I'm sorry if this is repetitive, but if you haven't watched it, I definitely have to go over this with you. So again, Zoomers, 61% of them are medically diagnosed with anxiety. I've had my recruiters change how we do our phone interviews, and what we do is try to address any potential areas of anxiety on the phone interview leading into their formal interview. And this is how we do that. We get ahead of it by answering questions that they might not feel comfortable asking, or questions that they might not even know is going to cause anxiety later on in the interview process. So, why is there an opening? Lots of people are worried, especially if they're leaving a practice where maybe there was a toxic situation or was a heavy turnover practice. They want to know, why is there an opening? Am I basically leaving one bad situation for another bad situation? They do not want to do that to themselves. So getting in front of this question and explaining why there's an opening in your practice, hopefully with a very positive spin. Our dental assistant is going back to school to become a hygienist. We're thrilled for her. Our dental hygienist is moving out of state. We would keep her indefinitely if we could, but her family is needed elsewhere. Just explain why there's an opening in the practice is going to give them, alleviate a lot of anxiety about working with you. Parking situation. I know this from my clients that tend to have parking garages. We see so many people no show. And when we follow up, I showed up. I just didn't know what the parking situation was. And so I left. So if you do have a complicated parking situation, you want to take a moment to explain what it looks like. And that way they are warned accordingly. Never make an applicant pay for parking. There's too many options available to them for jobs. They do not need to pay for parking to interview with you. So if there is a situation where parking needs to be paid for, you need to let them know that you're going to reimburse them accordingly. Or validate parking or whatnot. Even if your parking situation is super easy, still get ahead of it. I had an interview once at a dental office, and there was just too much parking available and it freaked me out. So, hey, we have a huge parking lot outside of our practice. Feel free to park wherever. Nothing's assigned. So just feel free to park wherever. The closest entrance to our practice is on the south side, if that helps you pick out a parking spot. Just kind of take a moment to explain the parking situation to them. What to wear. As a recruiter, I always try to tell my applicants what to wear to their interview. I find that it just alleviates any anxiety because we all have those what to wear days. So a quick, hey, doctor might want to run you through some simple assessment tests while you're there, or have you jump into a quick little 1 hour working interview with us. So wear scrubs, or our office tends to dress in business professional attire. We would love to see how well you would fit into the practice based on that attire, so dress accordingly. So just give them a little insight into what you were hoping to see them wear on the interview. It's just going to alleviate a lot of anxiety for them. On the flip side of that, though, be aware of what their situation is. So if they told you, yes, I will come right after my office closes for the day, I'll head over for the interview. Obviously, you're not going to ask them to change into a business professional attire. They are coming right from work. They're probably already tired. They're going to try to get to you as soon as possible. They'll be battling traffic to get to you. So do not add that stress on them. Simply say, I know you're coming straight from work. I'm going to let the doctor know that you're going to be in your scrubs or the attire that you wore to work that day. That way he knows what the situation is and he's not concerned. And they're going to be forever grateful to you for making that quick observation and then alleviating that anxiety for them. Who will greet them and who should they ask for? So sometimes your interviews are 10, 15, 20 minutes long. And maybe you said your name at the beginning of the interview. Now all this time has passed and that went in one ear, right out the other. Happens to me every single day. So they might feel weird asking you what your name was. So just take a quick minute. Again, my name is Holly. Jill works the front desk, so she'll be there to greet you. Just tell her, hey, I'm here for an interview with Holly, and I'll come up and get you, and we'll proceed with the interview. So just take a quick moment to remind them of your name, let them know who's going to be there to greet you. It'll probably take away a lot of anxiety, especially if they did happen to forget your name and now they're panicking because they don't know who to ask for once they get to the interview. They might just not show up because they don't want to be embarrassed by not knowing who they're supposed to talk to. So remind them of your name, let them know who's going to greet them at the front desk. And you're going to do a lot for their psyche, for them to be mentally prepared to come in and interview with you. Lastly, time is a big factor of anxiety for a lot of people, not just people that are medically diagnosed with it. I'm always anxious about time. So just quick, hey, our formal interviews usually take about 45 minutes to an hour. Sometimes, depending on how our schedule looks, we might ask you to stay for a quick 30-minute assessment test. So just try to plan for 90 minutes of being in our practice, and you should be good with that. That way they can, if they have kids that they have to arrange care for, or if they're coming during their lunch break, they can let their doctor know, I need an extended lunch break. Kind of all of that information is going to help alleviate a lot of anxiety on their end. And then you always want to reemphasize how excited you are to meet them when you're wrapping up. So really can't wait to meet you. I know the team's going to be looking forward to it as well. And then reiterate the date and the time of the interview. And then when you hang up, take a quick second to just text them again, the date, the time, the address of the practice. So that way, if they start to panic, they're not Googling you guys in the middle of the night. They know that it's all saved there in a text message and you know exactly how to get to you and what time their interview is. If you want to learn more about Zoomers, I have a wonderful Gen Z talent guide that you can download by scanning this QR code here. And then I know I referenced a lot of information about Zoomers. So here is where I found all of that info. And then thank you so much for your time. Again, this QR code here is going to take you to my blog, which covers a lot of the information that I cover in these bites and then some. And then if you do have those one-off questions, feel free to email me at holly@directdental.com. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you soon. Bye.